Hey, what's going on everybody? Chris here and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing an update on all my aquariums, the good, the bad, the ugly, and what's in store for the future. So let's get to the video. Alright, so here we are with the 20-gallon Nano. Nice little update on this. It has been a while. Everything in here is doing very well. I just got done actually battling a really bad bout of cyanobacteria. I had like a green slime. I mean, it was on everything. It was on the substrate. It was just on the glass, all over the entire tank. Siphoned it out every week and it would come back just as bad every week. So I finally gave in and I threw a dose of Chemiclean in here and it completely eliminated all of the cyanobacteria that was in the tank. But other than that, everything is looking mighty healthy. Got the hammer coral there, zoanthids in the back there, zoanthids there. This frog spawn coral just growing like crazy. Went from 2 heads to 4 heads, now to little babies down there at the bottom, coming out more heads. Star polyps over here. These guys are starting to kind of grow in the glass there. They were up on that rock at one point, but they fell off and landed there, and I've just left them there ever since. Just kind of letting them spread out on the substrate. You got that encrusting SPS coral there that is just growing like crazy, keeps getting bigger. And of course the Hollywood Stunner up here on top, just basically taking the showcase of this tank. That thing just is massive and keeps going, getting bigger and bigger. There is a look at my 20-gallon Nano. So like I said, everything seems to be healthy, especially now that I got rid of that cyanobacteria. I mean, the tank just looks so much clearer and so much cleaner than it did with all that green slime everywhere. Although the glass in front, I didn't clean it before I filmed, and I probably should have, but it needs a good scraping. Other than that, this tank is doing really well. So let's go check out the 60-gallon down in the basement. All right, so here is the 60-gallon tank, and I am gonna just be straight up and forward with it. It absolutely looks hideous. It's just an ongoing battle, really, with this aquarium. I can't keep it stable, even though I try to, but it just, I don't know. There's just something about it. I just can't keep things going well in it. Either I have a hair algae outbreak or a dinoflagellate outbreak. A lot of the corals I had in here died, except for the one you see over on the right and the left. But you know, over time, I think the stability of this tank has just kind of been an issue. You know, trying to keep nutrients low, nutrients get high, then I knock them down, and then I get all kinds of problems because, you know, I had hair algae, I knocked down the nutrients, I got rid of the hair algae, dinoflagellates took over in the zero nutrient system, so I tried to raise nutrients, which brought back the hair algae, and now I've been lowering nutrients, and looks like dinoflagellates might be taking over again as well. Currently, I did a dose of fluconazole and kind of doing a 1-2 punch with Vibrant. So I'm about 3 weeks into dosing Vibrant, and this is kind of the state of the tank. A couple weeks ago it was covered more hair algae all over the rocks and stuff, but now the hair algae seems to be dying off, and like I said, everything's getting covered in brown nastiness, which I think is dinoflagellates starting to take over again. So really it's been a constant battle, and I'm kind of at my wit's end with it. You know, part of that might just be kind of neglect over time because I've been focusing so much on getting the 135 built and up and running that I've kind of let this tank go. And basically I'm kind of at the end with it, where I am just ready to tear it down, get everybody moved, and get the new system up and running. So until then, the tank just kind of is going to sit like this. Like I said, I've been trying to kind of get rid of this hair algae problem, turning into a dino problem. Definitely needs some work. You know, we can get kind of close in here, and you can just see just how nasty everything looks. I mean, it's just covered. That coral there, that encrusting coral, and this one over here are really the only ones that are doing any good. Everything else has pretty much since died. But other than that, the fish are healthy. You know, it is what it is. Kind of at a wit's end with it. You get to the point where you're just ready to tear it down and start over. But luckily, I've got another project that is going to take over, which is the 135, and hopefully we won't have any issues with the 135 that I had with this tank. But you know, then again, we shall see. Only time will tell. So with that being said, let's go ahead. We're going to slide over. We're going to take a look at the 135 and kind of get an update on what's going on with that. All right, and the big update of the day is going to be obviously the 135 that you see in front of you right now. This tank has officially been up and running for 2 months now. So it's quite a long time. Most people I know aren't that patient to wait 2 months to cycle a tank, but this tank, it's been 2 months since I started it running, and it's been cycling for the whole 2 months. And officially, as I tested yesterday, I know it is done with the cycle. My ammonia is 0, my nitrites are 0, and my nitrates are rather high actually, which is to be expected at the end of a cycle. I think they're like 60 ppm right now, so I do need to do a couple of large water changes and drop the nitrates down, and this tank is ready for life basically in it, other than bacterial organisms. Right now you see it with just the T5s on. Obviously I haven't gotten the LEDs over it yet because they're still over here on the 60 gallon. Normally the lights aren't even on. This is actually, I just turned the lights on for this video. I've been cycling this tank for the last 2 months in the dark, and really the only light that it gets is the light, just ambient light from the room down here, and then I have LED lights underneath of the sump that I do turn on when I'm doing work down there. So as far as the tank goes, man, I have been spending a ton of time and a ton of money on this tank and getting it started. So we can kind of come over here. You can see the 40 breeder still sits right there, and over here I built an Apex cabinet for this tank. I got a little controller down there, the Kindle Fire tablet I got for 30 bucks on sale on Black Friday. I got EBA32. It's a controller for my Reef octopus skimmer that we'll take a look at in a minute, and Apex head unit, and of course there's going to be a couple other things that go in here once I do tear down the 60 gallon tank. So we'll go ahead and open up the stand. We'll take a look underneath in the sump. As you can see, I did pick up a new skimmer for this tank. It's kind of hard to see with the getting rid of the sport. It's the Reef Octopus Regal 200S. And man, this thing, I tell you what, it barely fit in here. You know, when I picked it up, I didn't realize how big it was going to be. I did the measurements. I knew it was going to fit in that chamber, but the biggest issue with this sump, or with this skimmer and this sump, is the sheer height. You know, using a 55 gallon, I've only got, you know, 6 inches of space here. So in order to get this giant skimmer in, I actually had to remove my return line out, which you can see I've actually got unions in there. So never stress how, you know, use as many unions in your plumbing as you can, because I was able to actually take this section out in order to bring the skimmer in on this side, tilt it on its side, and basically slide it into place sideways. So it's going to make maintenance on the skimmer a little difficult. I still haven't yet to figure out how I'm going to do that, like when I need to take the pump out and clean it, clean the body. Most of that's probably going to have to be done. I might have to disassemble it in the sump and then remove it, but I haven't really gotten to that point yet, so we'll tackle that when it comes down to it. You know, and then emptying the skimmer cup is basically I have to pull it out and kind of hand it to myself through here and bring it out the side here where I still have room. I did end up buying another Apex for this tank. I was going to use the one that was on the 60 gallon and bring it over here, but with the Black Friday deals that were going on, I'm telling you, I spent some money on this. I ended up picking up a package deal because I really wanted to get a Neptune Trident for this tank. I've always wanted to get one for the 60 gallon, and you know, they sell out just as fast as they come in stock, and I ended up buying one as a package deal. I got an Apex L with the Trident and a dose pump, and I just the 10% off. I couldn't beat it. Went ahead and got it. Got the deal. Got everything set up. So you can see I got a Pro Brack there. I do have a couple of Marine Pure blocks in there to help with the bacteria growth, because seeing as how I do not have any sand in this tank. So as you can see there, everything's going good. The skimmer is producing waste. It's not producing a whole lot because there isn't a lot of waste in there, but I think it's going to work well for this system. It's a little oversized right now, but I think in the long run I've got a lot of room to grow and to really stock this thing up with livestock. So what else is going on? I also have set this up here. You can see I've got another 832 and the dose pump set up. I've got the dose pump set up for automatic water changes right now. So I'll probably be doing another video in time with how I set this up and how it runs, but basically you can see over here in the wall I've got my other 832. I've got my dose pump running. Up above I actually installed a separate circuit just for this aquarium into my main box for the house, so it's got its own dedicated circuit. I don't have to worry about it tripping off of anything else, which I've had a couple of problems with this system, which is running off another circuit. So it's all dedicated. It kind of looks like a jumbled mess right now. I do have some wire management to do, I think, eventually. As you can see, there goes my dose for the water change. So we're gonna have to wait a minute here until that's done, because you won't be able to hear me over it. That thing is loud. So where do I go from here to this point with this aquarium? Only time will tell. I've kind of got a tentative plan in mind. You know, I definitely want more fish in here than what's in the 60 gallon. Obviously, the sailfin, the foxface, and the clownfish are all going to be coming over here. But before I add them in, I kind of want to introduce some new tank mates. Probably put them in first and then transfer the other guys over. That way I can kind of avoid any territory disputes or anything like that, because the foxface and the sailfin are rather large, even though they're still pretty small for how big they get. But at least if I end up having some smaller fish in here first, that they can kind of establish themselves before I put any larger fish, especially that sailfin, who can be quite a bossy little bastard. So the tentative plan with this tank is going to be Christmas break. I'm going to be on vacation, and I think it's a good time to kind of get the transfer done. I'll be home so I can monitor all the fish, monitor the system, and make sure, you know, everybody's good to go. So I think Christmas break is what I'm shooting for, as far as basically the switcheroo is what we're calling it. We're gonna call it the switcheroo. And then, you know, over Christmas break I'll also have people available to help me take this tank out of the house once I tear it down, because once I tear this tank down, it's gonna have to go outside or it's gonna smell. I mean, it's just, if anybody's ever torn down a fish tank and just kind of let everything that's in there be out in open air, it really creates a smell. So plan is to get everything torn down, get that tank out of the way, and get it out of the house so it doesn't stink. Probably put it out in the garage in the cold, and basically let everything die, and then come summertime I can really give it a good scrub and clean it out. Now, as far as all the live rock and everything goes in there, I'd love to keep some of that live rock out of there. You know, it's good rock, it's been in there forever, but the problem is I don't want to bring any of the problems I have in that 60 gallon into the 135. I don't want to bring any of the hair algae, any of the pests, anything. I mean, to me, it's just, there's no point in bringing any of that rock in here. Although I did think about, like, taking some pieces that I really like, throwing them in a brute trash can or something in the dark, and kind of basically cure the rock and basically try to let everything die off of it. You know, if I put it in there in the dark, all the algae should die off of it, and it should be still usable. But you know, if you have any ideas on that, maybe, you know, leave me an idea in the comments down below. You know, if you think I should use any of that rock out of the 60 gallon, or just basically let everything die on it, throw it in a bucket, let it freeze, let it die, let it dry out, and then maybe cure it again. I don't think I'll throw it away, but might save it for another build at some point in time. But of course, then there are those pieces of rock that are in there that do have coral attached to them, like the one over here on the far right, which has got that encrusting coral on it. It'd be nice to save that piece and move it into here and let that coral continue to grow, but I could also probably just frag off the pieces and place them in here as well. But it does kind of put me in a predicament, because I'm not ready for coral in this yet. I don't want to put any corals in here for at least another couple months. Fish are okay, but corals, meh. So if I do tear this down completely, any of the coral that is in there is probably going to have to go in the 20-gallon upstairs, just because that tank is more established, and you know, I know it can support corals because it obviously is as we speak right now. But I do got to get some fish in there slowly but surely. You know, I do not want to rush this at all. I've been taking my time with this tank as much as I can. You know, I want to get it up and running, I want to get it going, but at the same time, I know patience is a virtue in this hobby, and you have to wait. You have to have patience. Just me waiting 2 months to put anything in this has been a real test of my patience, because every other tank I've set up, I've usually set it up within a couple weeks. You know, 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks max, I think, is the most I've ever cycled a tank. So right now, this one is now the most I've ever cycled a tank. Anyway, that is the big update. Like I said, if you have any ideas how to do that as easily as possible, you know, feel free to leave those down in the comments down below. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Do feel free to click the subscribe button if you want to keep up to date on the 135 when I'm going on to it. If you do subscribe, hit the bell notification as well. You'll get notified if I upload any new videos. I haven't been doing them as often as I'd like to, but as I'm approaching the cusp of really getting this 135 coming up, I think the videos are going to kind of start rolling out a little more often than not. So anyways, again, thanks for watching, and until then, we will see you on the next video.